Mysteries. There's been a murder, and the killer is someone in this room. Was it you? Or perhaps it was you? Ha ha ha! Of course, it was you. But what makes a good mystery? Whether it's a book, a TV show, or a film, what is it that makes us do this? It's been on my mind lately because, well, I'm crafting one. Link for the pre-launch mailing list is in the description. Sign up now and receive exclusive making of content and perks. It's gonna be a banger. My mystery is a detective noir thriller set in 1920s Harlem about a string of murders and an unlikely hero. I've written it, rewritten it, edited it, re-edited it, and re-re-edited it. I've spent hours poring over reference material, researching the time period, dialect, and geography. Hell, I once spent an hour finding restaurant menus and lunch specials just for a one-page scene that happened to take place in a diner. I'm telling you this not because I think I'm an exceptional writer or that this book will be some great revelation for the genre, but just to illustrate that the question, what makes a good mystery, has weighed heavily on my mind. It's something that I've put a hell of a lot of energy and thought into. So let's start from the beginning. What is a mystery? Well, generally speaking, a mystery is a work in which the circumstances driving the plot's action are unknown to the protagonist and the audience. This unknown becomes central to the progression of the story until the protagonist is able to uncover the answer and reveal it to the audience in the work's culmination or denouement. Now, what makes a good mystery? Well, by my estimation, a well-crafted mystery is comprised of three parts. 1. All of the pieces that the protagonist uses to solve the puzzle are provided to the audience throughout the course of the story. 2. Although we as an audience have all of the available information, only the cleverly written protagonist is able to mold it into a cohesive answer, so that when we, the audience, see the pieces from the context the protagonist places them in, we make that, oh, face, because we now see the things we were previously shown in a completely different light that illuminates the answer. And 3, a good mystery is one in which the transition of previously available information to formulated answer isn't convoluted. This is important because if the answer is convoluted, then we as an audience don't feel that satisfaction of watching the answer being formed because that formulation is too contrived or absurd for us to have even considered. So that is my definition of a good mystery. If you think I'm way off, then I suppose I've done a pretty poor job of selling you on my next book. But if you agree, let's look at some recent examples of mysteries and see how they stack up. The show House was considered a medical drama, but it's basically what if Sherlock Holmes was a doctor with mysterious illnesses replacing traditional mysteries. It was a neat idea, and the show was certainly well crafted and well acted, but as a mystery, it always fell flat on its face. Because no matter how much work went into making it medically accurate, we, the audience, don't work in medicine. So regardless of how dramatic the stakes were, how brilliant Hugh Laurie played the role, as an audience, we have no connection to the mystery. So week after week, House would have his epiphany and announce the solution, but as an audience, we can only go, all right, sure, I don't know, I'm not a medical student. While the US has had some classic mysteries like Columbo and Murder, She Wrote, many of the current crop are made in the UK. Some of them are quite good, including Father Brown and Jonathan Cross. But the one most people would be familiar with is BBC's Sherlock, starring Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman, which is shit. In fact, in many ways, it's the polar opposite of everything that makes mysteries as a genre enjoyable. An anonymous internet user once famously put this by comparing Sherlock's Sherlock to Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men, saying, Chigurh is a smart person written by another smart person who understands how smart people think. Sherlock is a smart person written by a stupid person to whom smart people are indistinguishable from wizards. Now, I wouldn't say Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss are stupid. In fact, they're both extraordinarily talented and immensely successful writers. But I would say that their work on the series reveals a preference for showing off just how super-duper clever their character, and by extension, they are, rather than telling a compelling mystery. Sherlock frequently solves mysteries by just pulling information out of thin air that the audience never had access to. And as the show wore on, the writers seemed to develop outright contempt for the very idea of letting their audience know just what the hell was going on. In the finale of Series 2, Holmes dies by throwing himself off a building in order to defeat Moriarty. He returns at the beginning of Series 3, so what happened? How did he do it? I mean, he faked his own death, obviously, but the episode in which we learn how repeatedly cuts away from the story to show us a Sherlock Holmes fan club, a bunch of obsessive weirdos who meet and speculate about how he managed to fake his own death, showing various ridiculous scenarios concocted by a small group of pathetic loners. Yes, you read that correctly. A TV show about a mystery-solving detective was so uninterested in showing viewers how he solves mysteries that it actually took the time to mock its own audience for even caring about such silliness. It was one of, if not the most sanctimonious pieces of television ever put on air, and I'm saying that as someone who wasn't even a fan of the show. Not to keep ragging on Moffat, but this wasn't his first time starting a mystery and then crashing it into the ground. On Doctor Who, the man wrote some of the best episodes in the show's 50-plus year history. But if you gave him a whole season to develop a story, you're all but guaranteed to be digging a black box out of the wreckage. Series 6 of Doctor Who opens with the Doctor dying in the very first episode. Starting to notice a pattern here? It's established that this is the Doctor, he's dead, he doesn't regenerate, and his death is a fixed point in time that can't be changed. Then a past version of the Doctor shows up, and we're off to solve the mystery of this interesting premise. This time, Moffat's crime wasn't not giving the audience the information, but rather too much. In a subsequent episode, The Rebel Flesh, a duplicate of the Doctor is created. In another episode, there's a shape-shifting robot ship called a Tesselecta, manned by tiny, shrunken-down people, and it turns into perfect replicas of people throughout history. So when the season finale finally came around, when it was time for the writer to finally show his hand, the solution was the Doctor that died was the shape-shifting robot posing as a Doctor. It somehow felt simultaneously nonsensical and anticlimactic. Nonsensical because the Doctor's death was treated as something that the entire universe knew about. In fact, the people on the Tesselecta who monitor all of time and history knew about it. So for him to just walk away from it and continue adventuring seemed kind of silly. It also felt anticlimactic because as an audience we were shown multiple solutions. So when it arrived, it just flopped onto the floor like an inconsequential wet dog turd. Oh, was that one? Oh, okay, sure. What House, Sherlock, and Doctor Who all have in common is that they lacked the sense of satisfaction I initially described. The consideration not just for your story's resolution, but for how your audience will receive it. Nearly every story hinges on how it starts and finishes, but I feel that with mysteries this gets multiplied spectacularly, because the big reveal causes the audience to instantaneously reflect on every single moment that has led up to it. It's very much like a magic trick, with the key difference being that you have to wow them with the deception and then wow them again by showing how the trick was done. And if you fail to do either, you fail to do both. 26. In my book, there are 26 separate pieces of information that lead the main character to the killer. Some of them are subtle, in fact, they're so matter-of-fact that a reader would never really pick up on the scent. But some of them aren't, and I hope I am successful in not just crafting a satisfying mystery, but one which readers will be able to return to and enjoy after seeing all the things they missed the first time around. It's something I'm going to keep working on throughout this process, and if you want to come along for the ride, you can always jump on that mailing list and see where we're at. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you when I see you.